Hi everybody, lovely to meet you all virtually. I'm hoping that we can hear you give us a little bit of chat later on. We'll just work through the technologies of that, but there is a wee allow to talk button, so I'm sure we can get a wee bit of feedback from you as we go. But yes, please do use the chat button throughout. Thanks for coming to our virtual workshop. I appreciate you all taking the time out. We did do our in-person one a couple of weeks ago, which was great, but it's lovely to meet some more of you virtually. Liz and I are looking forward to working with you over the coming months to sort of put your business and ultimately visit Moray Speyside on the map with the travel trade. As Laurie has said, if you can, mute, you keep yourselves mute unless you want to speak, that's great. And we'll apologise at our end in advance if we have any Amazon deliveries that we're not expecting, or dogs barking, or any other weird interactions as we're home working. And Liz and I are not in the same room, so apologies if we're a little bit like Tweedledee and Tweedledum at points, but we should be fine. So just to give you a little bit of an introduction on myself, my name is Karen. I set my own sales and marketing consultancy business up nearly 10 years ago now, and I spend my time working with hospitality, travel and tourism businesses around Scotland, offering sales and marketing support, business development, everything from attractions to hotels to destination marketing organisations. I also do a day a week for UK Inbound, business development in Scotland, and UK Inbound is the leading inbound travel trade association based in London, and as I say, I cover Scotland. Prior to my life as a consultant, I worked for Apex Hotels for many years, actually, everything from general manager to director of sales, so a real variety. So I'll pass over to Liz, who will introduce herself.
Morning, everyone. So I, like Karen, have worked in tourism for many years. I have worked very much in marketing and international marketing in the past, so that's my area particularly. Latterly, I've also worked as a freelance consultant and very much focused in on business development, travel trade, getting the product right to market with various different, mostly visit attractions, some tour operators, and currently working with Midlothian as well as Visit Moray Speyside. And yeah, generally got a good all-round, hopefully, experience I can share with you guys.
Thanks, Liz. So just to touch on what we're going to cover today, first of all, we're going to attempt to be around the Zoom room. We'd really appreciate if you would just do a quick intro of yourselves, who you are, what your business is, any experience to date you have of working with the travel trade, and what ideally you're looking to get from today, if there's any burning things that you're desperate to know about, and we can try and cover them off. We're then going to touch on what is the travel trade in the first instance, the benefits of working with the travel trade. Oh, we're beginning to see you all appearing on the screen. Fabulous.
Wow.
Oh, that's good. That'll help us get around the Zoom room in a second.
Thank you. Will.
So yes, what is the travel trade, the benefits of working with the travel trade, a wee bit of sort of discussion around the Moray and Speyside context, doing business with the travel trade and some sort of top tips. We've also got a little bit of information from Visit Scotland in there, and we've got a great case study to share with you. So I mean, we appreciate you're all at different stages of the journey in terms of working with the travel trade. So hopefully this workshop is going to give you a little bit more insight as to the understanding of the travel trade, who and what they are. But then the next stage after this is we'll be working with you individually on a one-to-one basis to discuss your own particular business in more depth at a sort of one-to-one session. So without any further ado, I'm going to try and work our way around the room. I'm going to do this on my screen as to who comes in what order. So if we get to the end and I missed anybody, you have to shout loudly. So Alan O'Neill, you're first in the firing line.
Well, thanks very much. So I'm Alan. I'm the administrator of a Duffton Golf Club. Can you hear me okay, by the way?
Yes, that's great. Thanks.
I've come along to this because Visit Moray Speyside, it was David Wilson invited me along to it, and I'm hoping to get some useful steers on how to sort of promote the golf club. And we're in a bit of a sleepy hollow, but an absolute sort of destination for anybody that's coming on tours up here, and hopefully link in with other aspects of the tourism industry, such as accommodation, catering, things like that, you know, just to try and benefit everybody.
Perfect.
Experience in the travel industry? None.
Great.
Apart from being a tourist.
That's brilliant, Alan. Thanks very much. Well, we'll certainly be touching on that, particularly collaboration and things as we go on throughout today. So, Caitlin Barnes, you're next on my screen.
Hello, can you hear me all right?
We can, thank
Oh,
you.
good. Funnily enough, I'm actually one of Alan's neighbours. I have the nearest accommodation, I think. No, I have a very close accommodation business to Dufton Golf Club. So I'm here to look at how I can build the business. I started it just before COVID.
Oh, no.
I opened sort of August, September in 2019. So I haven't had a normal year yet of accommodation. So I'm hoping to kind of really hit the ground running and just see how I can boost, especially my direct bookings. Most of my I've got bed and breakfast and self-catering on an old farm. And I'd really like to get away from booking.com if possible, because I have probably 90% of my bookings come from that. So I'd like to try and work out how you can help me to boost my direct.
Great. Thank you, Caitlin. Brilliant. Caroline Dunbar.
Hi there. So I'm from Duffers Estate. We have a selection of self-catering properties, ranging from sort of traditional stone farmhouses and cottages to a sort of high-end eco cabin that we launched last year. So I've not really hooked up with the travel trade before, so just really interested to find out potential collaborations.
Perfect. Great. Thanks Caroline. David McGovern.
Hi, I'm David McCubbin. I'm the Development and Marketing Officer at Cullen Sea School. We've not engaged with the travel trade before. We are a water sports provider in Cullen. We've got online bookable product. So I'm just interested to find out how we could tie in with this and how it would work for us in terms of getting our product out into the marketplace. So that's why I'm here. Thank you.
Great. Thanks, David. Now, David Ross.
Hi, can everyone hear me okay?
We can, thanks, yeah.
Yeah, my name's David Ross. I'm from Moray Tours. We've been in business for just over 5 years. We run a small tourism business doing tours around Moray and Speyside, sometimes going to Highlands as well. We're just looking to try and collaborate more with local businesses, look at putting packages together to sell online and to market to travel agencies.
Perfect. Great. Thanks, David. Doug Nisbet.
Hello. Yes, I'm Doug Nisbet. I'm a director of the Keith and Dufftown Railway. I've only been in that post for about a year, so this is quite new to us. We're in the process of a 10-year strategic plan, which has got 3 aspects to it. But the third aspect to it is looking at our 4-star visitor attraction and a value proposition around the whiskey theme, because we call ourselves the Whiskey Line, we've got a very ambitious 10-year plan, but and I won't go into that because a lot of it's to do with engineering and such like, rather than tourism. So, but a third of the plan is to do with marketing the visitor attraction. We drastically need to improve our visitor numbers. We're a pretty unique attraction in the Speyside area, and it's very, very good to. I've already taken down a few names of neighbours here that I think we could cooperate with, you know, so that's very interesting. By the way, I'm sort of on the road on the way back from Elgin to the railway at the moment, so I I may start driving at one point, so I'll put my iPad to one side when I do that. Okay.
Glad to hear it. Goodness me, don't want to be responsible. Well, safe journey if you start moving. Thanks, Doug. Duncan Cartwright.
Yeah, hi. So I run Highland Spirit Tours, which is basically running tours for small groups around Speyside whisky distilleries. They're tailor-made and generally dealing directly with the clients, but I've had a few bookings via tour agencies, and just to find out a bit more about that. On a wider scale, I also run a website about the Moray dolphins, and over COVID time we've been reviving one about Inverness and the Moray area.
Great. Okay. Thanks, Duncan. Okay, Emily Scott.
Hi there. So I'm the merchandise manager at Nakanda Wool Mill, and the tour side is very important to us, trying to translate our story and what's been and gone and what we're doing now. So the tour side is very important to us, and getting international visitors to us too is important.
Great, thank you. Iona. Oh, Iona, are you there? We'll come back to you, Iona. Jane Booth.
Hi, I'm Jane Booth from Innis House, and we are looking to encourage some international travel.
Great. Thank you. Moira.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Karen. It's Moira from the Northern Highlights Sightseeing Pass. We cover attractions, activities, experiences and tours, looking to collaborate with more businesses in Moray Speyside for them to be able to be a part of the pass. Have started working with the travel trade, dipped our toe in the water, have a few contacts and contracts made, but really interested to learn more and make sure we're doing things efficiently. And as they say, you're never too old to learn. So I'm here to do that.
Thanks, Moira. Well, hopefully there'll be some top tips in there today that will be of use. Rona Graham.
Good morning, everyone. Can you hear me?
We can.
Yes.
Oh, great. I'm Rona Graham. I won't tell you about my day job. That's something completely different. But I've recently joined the board of Sea Lighthouse in Lossiemouth, which is a wonderful attraction and a wonderful community-owned asset. But we would love to improve the visitor experience there and to try and market the tours that we do there and events that we can put on a little bit further.
Great. Okay. Thank you very much. Now, Scottish Gin, marketing at Scottish Gin. We have, I'm not sure who the name behind that is. I've got my list here somewhere.
Everyone's listening now.
Oh.
Jill or Justin?
Okay. Oh dear.
And Jill was the one who was having problems with the.
Can you guys hear me now?
We can hear you, Jill. Yes.
Yeah, go for it.
So I marketing at Ava Scottish Gin is our new member of staff, Justin, who joined us a week past Monday. And I'm Jill Brown. I'm the owner, director and distiller at Ava Scottish Gin. And we have recently opened up the distillery for tasting tours. So we managed to get from June to September as our first experience into tourism. So we're newbies. We don't really know that much about the direct to taking our business to tourists. So we're quite new in that circle. So we're just trying to find out more about the tourism that's available in Speyside and join up with other businesses. We have had some collaborations with, for example, Skedaddle North did some running to us, and then More Fine Food were doing food platters for us. And it's just to make other businesses who offer accommodation and maybe, transport facilities that we now have tourism available from March through to September. So that's what we'll be opening the 25th of March 2022. We have a retail shop on site from Wednesday to Saturday through to the 23rd of December as well. So it's just to join up with the tourism element now in Speyside and promote that side of the business.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Jill. Blair Robertson.
Good morning to you. Can you hear me okay?
We can, thanks, yes.
Yes.
Hello there, everybody. I'm Blair Robertson. I run the West End Guest House in Elgin. It's a small guest house. We've been doing it for about 5 years. We're still quite busy, which is really quite good, but no foreign tourism at all, of course, understandably. I'm here just to get some ideas on how we can do things differently or do things better, and also good just to connect him with other folk involved in the industry in the area.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Blair. Jodie Turner.
Hi, yeah, sorry, I missed most of the introductions there. I was on successfully, but as soon as it seemed to change from the presentation one, I lost connection and had to try and remember.
Jodie, we are recording. I was just going to say we are recording it, so you'll be able to.
No, it's fine. It's just did disappear for a while, but I'm back now. Yes, Jodie Turner and my husband Scott is in the background somewhere on another call, but will be joining as well. We own Craigellachie Lodge in Craigellachie, just up behind the Craigellachie Hotel. We've been here for quite a few years now, but only really just launched the business full scale in the last kind of 12 months, or during COVID, let's put it that way, when we got our bar license. And we've got a food offering as well now, so we've got 6 rooms here and are looking for further development opportunities as well, and obviously the collaboration, as a few people have mentioned, tying in with other businesses and collaborating for mutual success with other businesses.
Great, thanks very much, Jodie. And then Iona.
Hi, I'm back. Yeah, so I am the author of a brand new guidebook called Moray Speyside, a travel guide. It will be publishing on the 30th of November. I've already listed some of the amazing businesses in there, but I'm really focusing on just the wonderful attractions, whether it's nature or paid for events, or many of our free attractions as well. Hoping to do lots of cross promotions, mostly on social media. I'm quite excited to announce that I've also had a couple of invitations from the Scotsman on Sunday and a magazine called Hidden Scotland to get reviews and to hopefully work with them.
Perfect, great. Well, good luck with the venture. So lovely to meet you all virtually, as I say, and hopefully, you'll all be able to collaborate a bit more over the coming months. Can I just maybe ask now, have I missed anybody? Firstly, did I miss anybody there? No, hopefully not. Well, apologies if I have. Feel free to put your hand out or come in the chat. But if I can maybe get you all to mute yourselves now, just so we don't get any feedback as we're presenting. But feel free to unmute and ask any questions as and when, or please do use the chat function for any questions. We'll try and capture them as we go along, but anything we maybe don't get to or miss today, we can pick up on that afterwards. So Liz, can I maybe get you to start sharing your screen for the presentation, please?
Yes, I will share the screen, and we will have a break at some point in the middle for you all. So just give me a second.
Thank you.
Right, so can everyone see that, my screen?
That's good, yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. Right, I will launch in, Karen, at the definitions. Yeah.
Perfect. Lovely, thanks very much, Liz. So, who or what are the travel trade? Well, this is our definition of it. So basically the travel trade is an intermediary, anyone between you as the product or the supplier and the customer as the tourist. You'll see as we go through, it can be fairly complex, and there's a few links in the chain, but basically the travel trade are the intermediaries that are reselling the tourism product on to the end consumer. Within the inbound tourism industry, these people or companies tend to be known as inbound tour operators or wholesalers. They in turn sell on and work with operators and smaller agents across the world who are then in turn selling on to their guests and visitors to encourage them to come to the UK. Now, some of these travel trade intermediaries sell packaged products, so maybe accommodation, plus attractions, plus some transport, maybe local level transport. Others of them sell maybe more just an individual product, maybe just the hotel by itself or the attraction by itself. There's a real variety. But I guess the key thing to stress is that the travel trade is such an important channel for your access to international consumers, because without the travel trade as an individual business, it's very difficult to make that reach with the small marketing budgets that we all have. So just a little bit more detail then on who the travel trade are. So wholesalers, I would class as the big beasts, if you like. They offer worldwide destinations. They do specialise in specific countries, but they really are a worldwide entity, and they focus on large volume sales, accommodation and itineraries. They don't tend to package up with flights, but they're big organisations, and for that reason they have their own in-house product development team. So they're the ones that are out looking for new attractions, new accommodation providers, new things to do. They have their own contracting team who will then come back and contract rates with you. And then they've got their vast sales teams that ultimately then take that product that they have contracted out to the wider market and sell that on. They sell on a business-to-business basis. Wholesalers don't tend to sell directly to the consumer. So they're taking what they've bought and selling that on to smaller independent travel agents who are ultimately then selling on to the guests that will come back to you. From an accommodation point of view, they tend to like to pre-purchase large allocations, bed banks, as they're sometimes known. So they'll probably approach you as an accommodation provider and say, well, I would like to have access to 2 rooms per night or 5 rooms per night, or if they're a bigger group operator, 20 rooms a night. And they like to sort of pre-purchase that. And then if they don't sell them, they will release them back to you closer to the date. So some examples of wholesalers include Albatross, Webbeds, Classic Britain, who are actually Scottish based, but they do, as well as sort of domestic business, they do some inbound groups as well. Norman Allen and Great Days. And then we've got the destination management companies who generally sell on a business-to-business basis too. Now, these are the operators that are more on the ground with the specialist area knowledge. So you're quite likely to have a destination management company come to you and want to contract with you directly. They have the relationship and the information about the key areas that they're selling. They create tour programs and itineraries, which can include some local transport, accommodation, attractions, activities. Again, generally business to business, but they can also offer a business to consumer element as well. And they deal with groups and FIT. Now, FIT we'll refer to quite a lot. These are fully independent travellers. That's your individual guests that are doing their own individual touring programme. And some examples of destination management companies include Abbey Tours, Jacques Travel, ESA Tours, Tour Partner Group, Mickey, Cashel, and also some cruise agents.
So if we move on to the tour operators, these are the operators who in your personal travel in the UK and abroad, you probably use to plan your holidays, but they're the window, if you like, to your product. So ideally, however you come to the mix, where you want to be at the end of the day is within a tour operator program. They sell B2C and some B2B in terms of a tour operator selling to a travel agent, for example. And the packages can vary depending on the market, depending on their niche. It can be just fly drive type of programs or group tours. There's all sorts that come within that tour operator bracket. So I draw your attention to the fact that there's coach operators, they're tour operators, they're walking operators, they're tour operators. And 1 or 2 of our participants here today are tour operators, and the online travel agents that we're going to talk about are ultimately tour operators. So as I said, this is the kind of the shop window for the programs. And when I was working for travel companies or for destinations, my aim was always to get our name, you know, when I was working with the National Trust for Scotland, Brodie Castle, and the Highlands would be a great tour title in my mind, because already I'll be raising the profile of Brodie Castle. But if we talk just about some of the examples, we've got CIE Tours I'm mentioning here. There's a big North American tour operator, obviously key international market. You know, they have group tour, they have tours that individuals can book. So titles like Scottish Dream or Taste of Scotland or 15, 16 days Scottish and Irish Gold. And within that, there's a whole mix of different itineraries. And something that they're interested in doing right now is they're offering a smaller group, smaller tours, more intimate, more personalized small groups, meeting the demand that there is currently at the moment. Germany, Traveling Britain do auto reisen, so car tours, bus reisen. They do car tour, which is Northeast Scotland 250. So they're picking these different themes. Car tour Outlander, and car tours for families. So again, niche coming in. Then, you know, you've got Rabbids, I'm sure you're very familiar with. You'll have seen them up and down the roads. They do departures out of Inverness, Cairngorms National Park, Speyside Whiskey, 1-day tour, Orkney Explorer, 3 days. So the point of just giving you some of the examples is the itineraries, the ideas, they're what sells ultimately at the end of the day. And then if we move on to the online travel agent, which is an operator basically, they have a worldwide presence. They are a fast-growing distribution for travel products at the moment. They're really an online version of a travel operator, and bridging between consumers and suppliers, the hotels, airlines, car hire, attractions experience. And what can you do for this lot? Well, it is quite a lot about capacity management. It can be anyway. And you can channel the online travel agents to where and when you need that business. So I was just going to take an example of the Scotch Whisky Experience in Edinburgh, which obviously is in a perfect geographical location, city centre, near the castle, etc. But even within peak season, they can identify gaps in their availability. So they can work with certain OTAs to channel the business between 8 and 10 or between 4 and 5. And they can also sell the premium products. So a gold tour or a silver tour as opposed to the main tour. So there's opportunities for upselling, if you like. But we'll talk more about that in detail. This is just giving you the overview. And just one quick thing about Get Your Guide, which is one of the OTAs. They can sell your product in about 10 or 12 different languages. So that's quite key as well.
Yeah,
Moving on. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, just to touch on from an accommodation point.
Oh, yeah.
You know, there's no getting away from the fact that these online travel agents, love them or hate them, have got the most incredible reach around the world. And, you know, they all cover every continent, but, you know, Expedia originated within the US. So if you're looking for a bit more US business, they're quite a good one to be on, because ultimately that's where they've got a slightly bigger presence. Booking.com, they are head office in Amsterdam. So whilst again, they do sell all around the world, they probably have a little bit more of a European slant. So each one's got a slightly different niche to it, if you like, although they all appear to do everything. Okay, so.
Yeah, my other example actually was McKinley Kidd, a small tour operator who you may have come across, do very much everything quite different, quite personal. They have fly drive, escorted and private tours for individuals, tailor-made Scottish holidays, cover the 500, the 250. And interestingly, I noticed they had a couple of tours which talked about slowly traveling through the North Highlands by train and slowly around the North Coast 500. So really focusing in on trend at the moment.
Yeah. Thanks, Liz. Oh, can we go back one?
Sorry. Yeah, sorry. No.
It's going in the wrong direction. Yeah, no, we'll talk a bit more about the trends in due course, as Liz said, but we've also, the other kind of pieces of the pie in terms of who the travel trade are the travel agents and the small operators. So I think we've got, like Moray First Tours are with us today. That's a classic example of a small operator who's doing individual tours in and around your particular region. but they tend to organise more personal travel for individuals or very small groups. And they are particularly popular with emerging long-haul markets. So if you're a consumer that's going to a part of the world you've never been to before, you might feel a little bit more confident if you're going through a specialist small operator who's helping you create that bespoke programme that you're looking for. They can sell off-the-shelf tours, but they also do a lot of bespoke. And I think, again, touching on the trends you see coming forward, now there's much more request for bespoke programs, niche tours, all sorts of things that are just a little bit different. That's what the consumer's really looking for now. You know, Liz touched on train travel there. Everything is about being sustainable and you know, making sure that you're offering a product that the consumer is actually looking for now. And these small agents tend to have faithful clientele. The same consumer will come back to them time and time again. They're probably going to a different country, a different part of the world. But when they build up that rapport with that small agent, they will come to rely on them for all their trips. And the smaller agents tend to be business to consumer. Now, a couple of examples would be Scots agents in North America. They're a network of very small travel agents. Most of them are home workers, to be fair, one-man bands working from their own homes, but they've been given specialist training in selling Scotland and all that Scotland has to offer. So they're a real key element. Visit Scotland work very closely with the Scots agents, so that they're really key for selling this country. We've got Spirit Journeys Worldwide, who are not a million miles away from you. They're based in Inverness. They create some nice little bespoke products. And then, of course, let's not forget, without you all, you are the key element, the end product, the suppliers, totally key part of the chain, because at the end of the day, without you as a suppliers, it all begins to fall down. So you're a key element of the travel trade, and don't lose sight of that. You're very important. Thanks, Liz.
Right. Oh no, sorry. What have we done there? That was not meant to happen. Right, hold on a second, sorry. Oop.
Bear with us.
Bear with us, sorry.
Technology.
Where's my slides? Right, where have they gone? Right, hold on. Oop.
So I guess at this moment in time, while Liz gets the screens back, anybody any questions at this moment in time on who or what the travel trade are? Feel free to use the chat as we go along, or as I say, ask any questions as and when. There we are, we're back. Panic not. There we go.
Right, let's see.
Oh, you jumped on one too many, Liz.
Okay, yes.
There we go. Here's a little sort of flow chart. So we tried to sort of put down on a bit of paper how complex the chain can be. So if you're the consumer, you're arriving in the travel agent and wanted to book your holiday, the travel agent's got a wealth of knowledge of different places, which they have gathered from the tour operator. Ultimately, the tour operator has probably before that used the expertise of a local destination management company to gather specialist area knowledge, the key attractions, the key experiences, the key accommodation in that area. And ultimately, the destination management company has come to you, the supplier, to gather that information. So just to show it's quite a complex process. Obviously, not getting away from the fact that some tour operators, such as your big boys, maybe TUI, these kind of guys, they will sell directly to the consumer as well. But I think for more niche type products such as Scotland, you see there's quite a lot of cogs in the chain in terms of from you putting your price in place and creating your product and what you're selling to actually how that then reaches the consumer. Thanks, Liz.
Moving on. So we're going to talk now about the benefits of working with the travel trade and just go through that. And then I've got a few Visit Scotland slides as well to show you. But, you know, in terms of our general approach here, you know, with it is about mitigating against risk. There's increasing competition internationally, nationally, locally, you know, uncertainties of COVID, its impact on global travel, Brexit, and, you know, all these things we talk about regularly. it's critical for business success to have as many routes open to business as possible, as many revenue streams open as possible, to as many markets as possible. Now, I know every business is different, and we need to consider the extent to which you work with intermediaries in maximizing the footfall and the income, but these are the things we can look at. And then, when it comes to situations, we can be in where we're not putting all our eggs in one basket. That's a better business model to work with. So we're just going to start and look at, in terms of what the travel trade brings you, in terms of what is actually making its way to your door and what suits you, because you need to consider yourself what actually suits you. Are you focused very much on individuals or groups? Are you interested in large groups or small groups? And can you define, would you prefer to define how big your group should be? So should it be 12 or should it be more? If you're a hotel, you choose what size of group you actually want, and you consider those situations. You consider different nationalities and what with their different travel periods. Perhaps there's a time when you're looking for more business, and maybe you have something that appeals to a certain nationality. When is your shoulder season? All these considerations come into play. Series groups, we will talk about where you've got an operator like the CIE tours I mentioned, who've maybe got one group looking to be placed every Monday from June to September. Is that the kind of business you're interested in? Would that suit you? Or is it just the one-offs, the bespokes, the one-off that suit you? So those are the considerations. Do you have a high value offer? Because certainly through travel trade, from experience, we can see that, if the product is out there and available, they may be interested in booking that high value option. That might be of interest to you. Is your product niche? Is it a particular kind of interest, like archaeology or something, that is actually of interest to different groups all around the world rather than just one country, and therefore you're spreading your opportunity? So by exploring all these different areas, we can identify some key benefits for your business.
We are going to send out after this, Rachel's very kind of going to help. We're going to send out a little form for you to complete, and it's just a case of, we did it in person at the physical event, but we'll send it to you afterwards. Have a wee think about your business, have a look at the form and the questions, and it'll just make you start to think and formulate what it is you're looking for. Is it the individuals, or is it the groups? And at the end of the day, working with the travel trade has to suit you as much as it has to suit them. So it's starting to think about what's going to work for you in your particular business. So just to sort of recap on all the benefits of working with the trade, they will bring business on the books. They'll bring you some advanced bookings. The travel trade cycle in terms of timeline is quite long. It's 12 to 24 months in advance, sometimes even longer. It depends on your market. If you're coming from the States or the Southern Hemisphere, you're going to be booking further in advance than perhaps if you're coming from Spain. So, when you are thinking about working with the trade, you have to definitely have your 2022 rates totally nailed by now, but you really should be well on the way to setting what your product and your rates are for 23 at this moment in time as well. The travel trade can bring you new and repeat business. Again, just remember the competition that's out there. We're not just competing with other attractions or accommodation providers within Moray and Speyside. We're competing with Scotland, we're competing with the UK, we're competing with the rest of the world. So to work with these agents and build a rapport and a relationship that's going to encourage them to bring you business from new markets and ultimately repeat guests. You maybe won't get the same guests again, but the same agent will deliver different guests to you. So it's well worth building these relationships. And as Liz touched on as well, off-peak volume and revenue might be a particular time of year that's quieter for you. Does that tie in with actually an international destination, and when maybe they have an elongated holiday period that they could drive more business to your area? So for example, the US have a very limited holiday window of a couple of weeks if you work over there, but if you can tie it in with something like Thanksgiving maybe, where you get public holidays as well. So it's just about seeing what might fit and work for your business. they can also bring the ground handling expertise. So they're then selling that story back to the end consumer, if you like. They know the area, they know the region, and ultimately they know about your particular business, or they should do, and we'll touch on that in a few minutes. And they're also receptive to new ideas, new destinations, and testing product. Now, we know obviously Moray Speyside has a huge whisky story attached to it, but just look at the plethora of different businesses that have joined us today. There is so much more in the area and the region to offer. So it's about drip feeding to the travel trade, the whole different list of options that there are, and helping them to create these itineraries. For many, many years now, people coming to Scotland have done the Central Belt, they've come up to maybe look for Nessie. There's a lot of programmes that are done time and time again, and there's more of these, I would say, slightly more untapped areas, such as Moray Speyside, that, you know, they are hungry for new product and new experiences. And they can also offer additional distribution channels, both within the UK and international markets. And then from the international perspective, you know, again, I touch on the fact that how do you make that reach? How do you reach these international consumers if you're not, as a small business, working with these intermediaries to help you sell that story? So they really do give you worldwide marketing reach. And it's ultimately a cost-effective marketing tool. And we're going to talk a little bit more about the pricing in due course. It's all about building that reputation. It's becoming known, becoming visited, becoming talked about. As I said before, we're not just competing with the rest of the UK, we're competing with the rest of the world. So if agents can deliver you guests time and time again and build that relationship and feel confident in what you're delivering, then that is absolutely perfect for them, because they're happy with that reputation and happy to sell you. They've got real good knowledge of their markets and what their market needs and wants. Is it nationalities that traditionally travel as extended family, or do they travel more as individuals? And again, what are the lead times? If it's guests from Spain, well, they could only be booking 2-3 weeks in advance. But if you're coming from the States, then you're going to get that booking 3 or 4 months in advance. So these, you know, intermediaries really help with that market knowledge, and also helps that they can communicate with their customers in their own language, which is super helpful. Ultimately, working with international guests drives more revenue. On average, a guest from the US spends 4 times as much as a domestic visitor, and on average, Europeans spend twice as much as a UK-based visitor. So there is great increased revenue opportunities there, and ultimately they will offer overall business growth. Now, we all know that we've been in a really challenging 18 months, and we're not going to linger on. We have to look forward and how positive things are going to begin to look. But you've done really well, I would imagine, with the domestic audience and staycation market over the last wee while. But ultimately, some of that domestic audience is going to be heading back to Spain or Portugal or off to the States next year. So we need to be now thinking again about re-engaging with this inbound international business, because potentially we're not going to be quite as busy with the domestic market next year. And that's what, you know, this is all about, working together to create these itineraries to encourage international guests to stay in the region for longer.
Yeah, I think that there was the TripAdvisor analytics are showing that where it's flipped in terms of where people are now booking. So majority of domestic travel is 75% booking overseas, whereas this time last year it was UK. So you can see the way it's going, really. I am going to share a few of the Visit Scotland slides. Visit Scotland are obviously very important to visit Moray Speyside, and it's important to work with both agencies as you develop your travel trade ready product. So also you will find that visitscotland.org is full of data and statistics, you know, on different markets. And when we get to our next workshop in February, Karen and I will be looking more at development of product, but we will also do some deep dives into some of the markets and you know, some of the relevant information from Visit Scotland on markets. So just the importance of the international market, you know, why develop international demand? I think we've talked about it just in the last few slides, actually. You know, they're critical to our recovery. they stay longer and they spend more, and it does mitigate against that risk for future bookings and gaps in the market. The travel trade in the international scene plays a really important part, and they can act as our conduit and our in-market voices, basically. We have a lot of scope within the outbound markets from different countries. You know, the percentage of French or Americans or Germans who have been to the UK is still ripe for the picking and ripe for growth. And of course, there's some markets which are repeat markets, and we talk about Netherlands and Scandinavia as markets who have been to the UK, been to Scotland, and are looking for more products and perhaps more experiential experiences in different parts of Scotland, and they would be good for visit from Moray Speyside. Just one of the Visit Scotland slides, just worth touching on, is just the whole planning process. You can see this is about the consumer as opposed to the travel trade, but you can see where the Visit Scotland role is to play in that generating of an interest in the destination. And you know, that goes back years and years, the accumulation of ideas, the wish lists for holidays. We all have that within us. And just where this slide you'll receive, but you can see the planning periods, and we'll talk more about that for the travel trade, but in the minds of the consumer, it's important that the Scotland message is out there now, because if we stop it, which we all had to do because of COVID, we need to pick it back up to get the awareness of the destination and what the destination is all about back out there in among all the other noise that's going about at the moment. But we can talk more about that. So just on that point, Visit Scotland is now back doing a global campaign, 6.5 million global marketing campaign to support recovery and to raise the profile and to bring Scotland front of mind among our potential visitors. Now, it's a campaign that's going to run over several months, and there's a little video on Visit Scotland website you can have a look at just to see what's been said. But they're picking off different themes, and responsible is a very important theme within it. The tread lightly, you might have seen that. And this is about UK and international markets, but they'll go through winter breaks, events and festivals. They have a phase on touring Scotland, and ostensibly to the international market, Scotland is often about a touring holiday. So that's quite an important thing to bear in mind when we're thinking about product for those markets. They will cover off outdoor adventure, and they will cover off family trips. So these key strands are being talked about overseas through various campaigns. And there's more detail on that on the Visit Scotland website. Now, just finally on the Visit Scotland slides, you know, you probably all, I was going to say hands up, but I can't see you all, so I won't do that. But you have your Visit Scotland Industry Relationship Manager, who is your contact at Visit Scotland and can help with your distribution. So there is a little list, but it's about the web listings, it's about the digital support. And, you know, it's important to have those bases in place, your travel trade listing, because they are doing a lot of marketing for the whole of Scotland. And then, of course, Visit Moray Speyside and Laurie's team have kept going with a strong travel trade presence in the markets, many markets, at many of these events like Visit Scotland, Reconnect, which comes up again, and also in travel trade, in bringing familiarization trips to the region. So they are done sometimes in conjunction with Visit Scotland, sometimes via other organisations, but play an important part. And we'll give you the contacts at the end for the Visit Scotland IRMs if you don't have them already. What we were going to do now, and actually we had in our in-person event in the Lake Murray in Elgin, we had a couple of case studies. We do have a little small operator, Airts and Pets, who were at that workshop. They weren't able to attend today, but they've sent us their YouTube information about how they've found working with the travel trade. It's I'm just going to play it just now, and it's interesting just to hear their journey and how they've come along. Could you just check that you've got your sound up? It should play from this end. If it's not, someone could tell me and I'll resort it, but hopefully it will all work like clockwork.
Hello, I'm Dan.
And I'm Ellen. We are Arts and Parts.
Our tour company is based in Nairn, and we take visitors from all the areas and parts of our world around the Highlands, but also around the whole of Scotland.
And we like to deliver our tours with Swiss precision and a warm Scottish welcome.
And we are here today to talk about the journey that we've been on in the last few months and about our experience of working with the travel trade.
A simple hello can lead to a million things.
Now, we started off our journey in 2017 after obtaining the STGA Green Badge Guide qualification. We did a lot of work with the cruise ships from Invergordon, but we also started guiding our own coach tours.
However, our 5-year plan included private bespoke tours. COVID-19 accelerated this massively.
Well, we could probably say that, at least for us, lockdown was not just a curse, it was also a bit of a blessing. We had the opportunity to focus on those aspects of our business that we would, under normal circumstances, probably not have had the time for.
Yes, we had time and the opportunity to visit many webinars, and we learned a lot of new things. For example, we found the best booking system for us. We also had the time to look into bookable tours. We completely reinvented our own offering, and we included virtual tours into this.
And after updating our website and rolling out our booking system, we thought it was now time to start looking for potential customers and partners.
Yes, we found out that the travel trade portal on the Visit Scotland website is a huge opportunity. Only 80 words, up to 5 pictures. It took us 2 hours to complete. However, it already brought customers to us. We had this very lovely American lady that found us, and she said we are very professional, very responsive, and we took one of her clients a whole week through the Highlands. That was a great tour, and I was surprised that that was her feedback. Being responsive, it's very important for the travel trade.
That's certainly one of the takeaways. Be responsive, be reliable, and be reachable for them in an easy way. And it's not just the listing that we've got on the travel trade portal that drives traffic to our webpage. We also have a listing on Visit Scotland's dedicated system for tour operators, and that certainly helps because as you can imagine, Visit Scotland probably have a bit of a better success rate and reach, especially when it comes to things like SEO. So being able to piggyback on that is also a great opportunity for us.
The other great opportunity that we had is to Visit Scotland Reconnect. So we did not only reconnect with DMOs that we knew before, we also connected with completely new customers. This resulted in dinner that we just had 3 weeks ago, and we're working out on a very specialized tour with a lady from Germany. So we're really excited about that.
Absolutely, really looking forward to that. And attending Scotland Reconnect, well, we actually agreed with many attendees that it felt a bit like speed dating. But it was a real eye-opener for us. We've already mentioned that it's important for the travel trade that you are responsive and reliable, but it was also where we came to the conclusion that it was very, very important to have a bookable product. And so that means you've got your product that can easily be booked, and it's also easily understood, and that the description and everything that comes with your product can also easily be shared within the distribution network of your partner.
Yeah, and equally important is to work with Visit Moray Speyside and Visit Scotland. We met our IRM, this is our industry relation manager, Stephen, and he really supported us through this whole process.
Yes, and it was so helpful. We did a digital review. We're still in the process of getting our quality assurance, and just working with them has brought us so many useful and valuable insights and potential action points. It's been absolutely great. Probably before we come to the conclusion, just one more thing. You may be aware that in the travel trade it's quite common to pay your commission to your partner. Well, at the start, of course, you don't always want to share your profits with people, but at the same time, we think it's actually not sharing your profit. It is a marketing expense, and it's definitely worth doing.
Definitely a marketing expense. So how else would you get out there? So alone we can do so little,
and together we can do so much more. And we really believe that working together and finding good partners that really help you to take your business to the next level is absolutely worth it.
Okay, thank you. All the best.
Have a good.
Oops, I didn't mean to cut him off there. However, some great thoughts there from Dan and Elle. You know, they took time to explore their product. They realized the importance of being reliable, that business wasn't immediate, that Scotland Reconnect and connection and collaboration was really important. They realized they had to have a bookable product and a booking system, easy to understand product, easy to book, and that their commissions were working around their model of a marketing expense. Just very quickly on trends, what's influencing the consumer. I'm taking a mix of Visit Scotland and my slide about this. So we're looking at the consumer and how that translates into what the travel trade might be thinking about, because obviously they're totally connected. So some of these trends are were very strong before COVID, and some I would say have definitely become stronger because of COVID. So the demand for personalization is absolutely out there. People's health and wellness and well-being, that was very much coming in before COVID. Everyone's busy lives. People are looking for experiential products, experiential tours, immersive experiences, living with the locals, living like the locals, knowing what the local life is all about. That had very much started before COVID as well. And unique and authentic, certainly all my experience with travel trade in the last 4 or 5 years, it's been about looking for something different, something unique, something that would really sell. Food and drink, always very important, and responsible and sustainable experiences have come to the fore in the last wee while as we all take cognizance of that. But that translates very much into things like, you know, agri-tourism and all these other connections round about, like food provenance. Just matching these trends with suitable products is what is a great opportunity for Visit Moray Speyside, because it is about doing things that are a little bit less, a bit more off the beaten track, a bit less the road less traveled, a bit more experimental. Businesses with product that is unique and different and doesn't need to be there for big groups, smaller groups and private groups and individuals being guided is something that's really more of interest now to all the operators, even the bigger operators now. So we have the perfect opportunity. Outdoor and active product is strong in terms of requirements and requests. We saw that very much this year with the domestic visitor, but we have to remember those international visitors also in their own countries were looking for experiences within their own country at the time, for active, for outdoor, for fresh air, from away from busy places. The whole idea of slower tourism is translating into something that's really beneficial in terms of perhaps discover an area rather than scatter around the country, one day here, one day there. And within the international visitor, that is also coming through. You know, that whole, where's the food coming from, the artisan, the craft, and wellness. Now, wellness translates into so many different things. It can just be nature, but it can be that more bespoke, more specific wellness experience. But I think clearly on smaller groups, that's smaller groups, smaller parties, individual care is very key to the overarching message. What we wanted to do now, and we did this in our group session, and it's great to all be together online, but we'll try it here, where we're looking to perhaps just discuss for 5-10 minutes what the key product drivers are to attract trade in Moray Speyside. So just thinking about the region, we've heard about the trends, we've heard about the key different experiences. We've heard from the group around the room, the different businesses, the whiskey business, the knock and do with the wool mill, the marine life, the dolphins. So just if we could just come up with a few thoughts about what we think would be key messages about the region, because at the end of the day, the region is our we start with the geography and we move into our individual products after. So I was going to open that up to the chat and also just to speak if you can. I'm going to stop sharing for a second and we'll just do that. So just really, if you've got something you'd like to add, or if you want to put it in the chat, we'll read out the chat. Any thoughts?
Yeah, what does Moray and Speyside say to you? You know, obviously you've got your own business to think of, but what's the wider region what's the attractions, what's the hooks, what's going to drive people to the area? Families, not just whiskey tourists, golf,
yeah, golf,
food, whiskey, gin, shooting, fishing. Walking, yeah.
Walking.
Maximising opportunities to promote the coastline, water sports activities, close from the sea, active nature walking.
Vista, I think that is really key as well, and that translates very much into what your visual presentation is in your photographs, and you know, views are really key.
I'm loving that. Less rain in the West Coast, that's a definite bonus. Yeah, water sports again, ancestry, the people. Yeah.
History and heritage, yeah.
And pure midges, yeah, other bonus.
Yeah.
Whiskey wildlife, midges come up again. Oh, midges are popular, or clearly not so visible in Moray and Speyside.
Close to hills quite easily. Yes, very good. Yeah, I agree. Yeah. People don't realise that, the close proximity.
Yeah.
So
brilliant. Plenty of good stuff coming through there.
Yeah. Yeah.
And ultimately, you know, one of the things we want to sort of achieve by the end of this is this project is having sort of a shopping basket of itineraries there, whether that's focusing on the active and the outdoor, or the coasts, or you know, the history, the ancestry. So it should be good to get your thoughts on, you know, what drives people to the area, because ultimately you're the ones that are running the businesses here, so you're the ones with the knowledge and the vision. So that's brilliant.
Right, I'm going to share my screen again, Karen, and I don't know why it does that, but anyway, we are right.
We're back.
We're back. Bear with. We will record all that and pull it all together, because it is important for our product catalogue going forward. So now we're going to talk about doing business with the travel trade and more of the nitty-gritty, I would say.
Brilliant, thanks, Liz. So ultimately, you know, we want to ensure that the travel trade have got absolutely no excuse not to sell you. It's a fantastic region and you've got a great selection of businesses and experiences. So ultimately, what we want to achieve is how we can best showcase this. How are we best to get this message out to the travel trade? Now, we're going to touch in much more detail at our next workshop about, in terms of the distribution and some of the trade shows and the events that, you have to get involved in to engage with the travel trade. But ultimately, you've got Visit Moray and Speyside here, great team, desperate for the tools to have to be able to sell your business effectively. So it's making sure that, we're giving them everything that they need to be able to ultimately sell your business and the region. So we'll touch a little bit more in a minute on what they need from you to be able to do that. But some of the things we need to consider are, what are the reasons to visit? What are the products, the quality products? So again, that's just having a rethink about your own particular business, and it might be that currently you do one thing, but maybe you could do some more unique experiences, as Liz touched on before, maybe open earlier in the morning and to do more of a private tour, or at the other end of the day when you're a little bit quiet. So it's thinking about how you can maybe evolve that product to create something a little bit more unique that's sellable but for the travel trade. We need to create trade rates, but we'll come back to that in a wee minute. Are they commissionable rates or are they net rates? Aerts and Pearts touched on this in terms of finding a method to book your product. Can they find you? How do they book you? Is it availability immediately available, or what's the turnaround time? I would specify here that the quicker you can respond to people, the better. And I appreciate that some businesses are very seasonal and therefore maybe closed and less resource around in the winter to answer inquiries, but a speedy turnaround is so important. 24 hours absolute maximum, because if you don't respond in that time, they've gone somewhere else to find another product that has responded quicker. You need to have clear and easy to understand collateral. I remember once sending a lovely glossy PDF off to a tour operator when I worked with, I think it was Apex Hotels actually back in the day. This can, that looks really, really lovely, but it's no use to me whatsoever, because I just want to cut and paste my little bits. And if you're sending me a PDF, I can't get the access to that, it's too long. But they're ultimately taking your little bit of information and adding it to that itinerary proposal with everybody else's information. So it has to be short and snappy and really just say in a few words exactly what you do. Also important to give as much advanced information as possible. What's your product? What are the rates and what are the terms? But other things that are really key are, what are your opening hours? Have you got a cafe? Are there toilets on site? If you're an accommodation provider, what type of breakfast do you offer? What's your room breakdown? Are you all doubles, or have you got some family rooms? What are your terms and conditions in terms of, policies, payment, child? Do you take children? What's your child rate? Do you take pets? What do you charge for a pet? All these things need to be considered and ready in advance, so when you get these questions, you can answer them very quickly. And ultimately, the travel trade is looking to build that trust. They want to build relationships. They're very busy operators, not only selling your business, but hundreds and thousands of other businesses. So they need to know that they're working with suppliers that are reliable and can deliver each time. And then on that note, when you think about the delivery, it's very much a case of making sure that your product is giving a seamless, engaging customer journey. A little bit of understanding maybe of some of the cultural needs, if that's possible. What's your customer service? From the point of making that reservation, are your staff helpful? Are they answering the phone with a smile? Easy, fast communications, and just keeping that kind of consistency in terms of pricing and terms and conditions is all super important for the travel trade.
Just moving on, we're going to just delve a little bit deeper into the reasons to visit and also price at the next slide. But there are a couple of key things from the perspective of who you're dealing with. First of all, the contracting team may never have been to Scotland. They may not be familiar with the destination. They may have a really big remit looking after UK, Europe, or wider portfolio. They need to see the opportunity in the way your product is presented. So that leads into the narrative needs to be really clear and really relevant and keep it simple. I think a few people have talked about the, translate the story so it's relevant and makes sense and see how it fits in with other product. And just an example I've got from experiences working with the National Museums of Scotland in Edinburgh, so the museum in Edinburgh, and they've got so many different galleries. We were looking at what we would present to international travel trade, and we had to focus in on what was the Scottish galleries, because that's more of interest to international visitors. And we would then focus a bit more into drawing out those key items like the Lewis Chessman that people would really not want to leave Scotland without seeing. So those must-see items. So it's really about distilling it down into a clear message. NTS, I talked about the opening of the Battle of Bannockburn Centre, and I was talking about history. But actually, as soon as I said Robert the Bruce, that made sense to some of the travel trade. So they need to see how they will link it in with their content. And also, you know, it must be the every bit of product that they have, they want to sell. And I'm taking more of an attraction or an experience angle here, but certainly there's an accommodation perspective there as well, isn't there, Karen?
Absolutely, yeah, without a doubt.
Yeah. So, you know, we are competing with the rest of the world, so it's just about making that really relevant.
I think as well, just, you know, to touch on how it's been a really challenging few months again, but for the travel trade, what's been really interesting is that sadly, obviously, many of them have been put on furlough for a while, or sadly, some have been made redundant. But these tour operators and wholesalers are all still there, maybe on a scaled down version. And actually, they've never had so much time on their hands to explore new product, because never operationally have they been so quiet with so few visitors moving around the world. So it has given them a lot of time to stop, take stock, and think about, you know, what they're offering. And I think, as we've touched on before in the trends and things, the consumer confidence due to COVID has made much more demand for rural areas, smaller hotels, smaller accommodation providers, self-catering accommodation providers, attractions that are not maybe such mass market, busy places. So it's a very opportune time, I feel, for all of you and the region. Pricing, well, there's a minefield for you. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I suppose before I start on this, there's a couple of key messages. Firstly, when it comes to the pricing, you can't look at this as discounted rates, but you have to look at it as an investment in marketing. How else would you get this worldwide reach unless you were working with these travel trade, tour operators, wholesalers, whatever you want to call them, around the world? And also, you can't really sell to the travel trade at the same rate as the consumer. They do need that margin. If you think back to the chart and how many pieces of the pie or steps in the journey there are from the supplier to the consumer, ultimately they all need a little cut. Otherwise, they're not going to be referring your business and selling your business. So there could be 2 or 3 different intermediaries in there. So from an accommodation point of view, you know, I think there's really sort of 2 schools of thought here. You can offer net rate, which is a rate that is slightly less than the rate you offer the consumer directly. And that then gives the operator a little bit of margin to package that up. Ultimately, they'll be packaging it up, as we've touched on before, sometimes with a bit of transport, accommodation, attraction, a local tour, and experience. So if they've got a little margin there and they can mark that up and package it all together, they can make their share that way. The other way to do it is on a commission basis. And obviously the online travel agents work like this. Now, what I will say here is that everything's up for negotiation. We'll touch on that in a minute. I mean, it's got to be right for your business. There's no point in somebody coming in and saying, well, actually, I can't work with you unless you're going to offer me 30% commission, because that is a huge chunk. But they are open to negotiation, particularly for smaller businesses. So it's always worth having that conversation. But yes, you will have to pay commission. But ultimately, I suppose the messaging in here is make sure that your direct consumer rate is at a level that will allow for you to make that net rate or pay that commission. And ultimately, you're still ending up with a bottom line that you would want to achieve. We'll talk more individually when we come to do sort of one-to-ones with you and have a look at your rates and where you can maybe tweak that. But it might be that to help grow the direct pricing a little bit, you can add a little bit of value if you're self-catering, have a wee small hamper of local produce on arrival, those kind of things. So there's lots of different ways we can look at it. There's also individual rates and there's group rates as well. And also think as well about, you know, what your booking system is. are you available online? Is it easy? Does it link to a channel manager? Can the tour operators pick your pricing up quite easily through these technical routes as opposed to coming directly? So all different things to think about and talk about in a bit more detail. I am doing a wee project just now with a hotel down in the Scottish Borders who just launched pre-COVID. So they've been a bit stop-start, open, close like everybody has. But they literally only had a public-facing rate. So we've had to look at that and think, well, we need to widen the net. We need to, as we've touched on before, not have all our eggs in the one basket. It's very good that we're dealing a lot with the domestic staycation market at the moment, but that is going to reduce as the staycation market begins to go abroad. So let's think about other routes. Yes, we should probably work with the travel trade. So they've now got an FIT rate in place. They've got a commissionable rate in place. They've got group rates available on a request basis. But yeah, there's lots of different ways you can sort of create your pricing strategy. But as a business, what your bottom line needs to be. So you have to build back from that to allow the margins for these tour operators. And one top tip, these rates need to be confidential. I've had one too many scenarios whereby the guests come to check out, they've been handed a bill with a rate on it. It's a confidential rate between you and the tour operator. The guest gets upset because they paid the tour operator so much more. The tour operator gets upset because now the guest knows the margin. So where possible, try and keep these price points hidden so that the guest only gets their bill with the extras on it and doesn't see the accommodation piece. Thanks, Liz.
So on the attraction or experience perspective, I would say that there's no need to mess about with commissions, but really just stick with what you call, be bold with what is your trade rate, which is what you call your net rate, your trade rate. And what the operators are very likely to do is they're likely to package that up with so many other different elements, accommodation, whatever. And ultimately they're not expecting to make huge margins from attractions and experiences, but ultimately they do need you in order to make the tour or the experience attractive in the first place and sell for certain. Considering your trade rate, round about your concession rate, if possible. In the main, as I've said, it shouldn't be visible. And there are also all those upsell opportunities that you can think about. So your group lunch, your private tour pre and post opening, your premium options, a talk. All these different elements have a cost attached to them. And what I would say is when we get to looking at product more in detail, you want to have them on your shopping list, because if you've got a premium offer, it's best to have it on the list than not on the list. So then you can just work out, your base costs and costs based on that and put it out there. So if you're Knock-Andu and you've got a guided tour of the history or the experience or the milling, you can put that as a premium option. And then you would take that price for any pack. So if you're going to sell it to an operator who might have 2 packs, if it's £50, it's £50 for 2, or if it's 20 people, and that's your minimum group number, it's the same price for the £20. So they can work it out. The operator can work that out. And I suppose my last point about this is that, well, a couple of points actually. You don't need to package things up more than your offers. You can have your shopping list because the operator will do that with all the other different elements. And just to consider that if you've got retail spend opportunity. So that's very key as well. So trade timelines.
Timelines, the never-ending timeline. Again, in an ideal world, it would be really lovely to engage with somebody in the travel trade and tell them about your product, and then tomorrow they phone with an inquiry. But unfortunately, that is a very rare occasion because the timeline for the product in terms of travel is quite long. You can see from the sort of little flow chart we've got here, but I always think about Visit Scotland Expo or Scotland Reconnect as it is, which takes place in April, is really when the travel trade come along to the trade show and they're looking for some new ideas. They've got their standard product that they sell, but they're always just looking for new ideas and sort of generate some inspiration, if you like. And so they go away from that show and they'll have a look at all the different pieces of the pie that they've met, all the different businesses, and then they'll develop a new product. That could be a tour, you know, a 2-day, a 3-day, a 7-day, whatever it looks like. But they'll develop this kind of new product, and then that sort of happens over the winter period from September to November. Then November to March, they'll come back to you and they'll start contracting that product. So they'll maybe want to have, you know, a couple of rooms a night, or if the bigger group, they'll need more rooms. They'll tie in the attractions and everything. And then ultimately, once they've got it all contracted, they'll upload that between sort of July and September time. They'll upload it online and they'll still create a brochure, because in some countries that's still, you know, the preferred method of actually booking, by going into the travel agent, looking through a brochure. But ultimately, most of it's done online now. And then obviously the sales piece starts from sort of December, February. That starts driving the sales onwards. So, you know, we're almost in that sort of time period now for sales, but in terms of, you know, 2022, but ultimately they're looking ahead to 2023 as well, so and beyond. So I can't stress enough that it's very important to have your product and your pricing available 12 to 24 months out. I think what's going to be interesting to watch this year is how it's going to pan out. I think there's still an element of consumer confidence, not sure actually if you should be booking just yet, what's going to happen, anyone going to be in lockdown, can we visit these countries? And I think, you know, obviously it's great this week, we've opened up to the States again, hallelujah, so really hope that that's going to generate a flurry of bookings, but there might still be a slight slowness to it over the next 6 to 8 months, I think, while people just build up their confidence again. But, you know, you never know. On the flip side, there's also going to be a huge amount of pent-up demand, because nobody's travelled for so long and people are absolutely desperate. In fact, somebody that I know, a friend on Facebook, arrived in Jamaica yesterday, and like, she must have been at the airport before that flight launched, you know, to get back to the States. So, you know, there's a pent-up demand there. So we might see on the flip side a flurry of bookings. We just don't really know how it's going to pay out. It's all a bit of a moving piece. But in an ideal world, you need to be ready 12 to 24 months in advance.
And so when Karen and I were putting our presentation together, you know, it did stimulate quite a lot of debate, that this is you know, this is your business. We were sharing our own experiences. This is your business. And people say, oh, I can't work with the trade because, well, there's actually, the trade will be flexible if you can be very clear about what it is you want and what your restrictions are. So I think, Karen, you had an example of you know, your early experience at the Cali Hotel, didn't you?
Exactly. When I was a bit of green around the gills in my first job, I was working as the assistant res manager, and somebody who from one of the big wholesalers came into contract with me. And this is about the third meeting in the job. So I want 5 rooms a night, and I want them on a 24-hour release, and I'm not going to, you know, do such and such with payment, and da 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 da. And I was like, whoa, you know, she just came in like a total bulldozer, and I was absolutely terrified. And actually, I'm very good friends with this person now. It's fine how things change over the years. But I guess what we're trying to say here is, don't be scared of the trade. It's a two-way street. Obviously, they're going to come in and they're going to have a list of things that they really need to be able to work with and sell you around the world. But everything is up for negotiation, and it is your business and it has to work for you. So, you know, if you're a 10-bedroom property and they're looking for 5 rooms a night, well, that's not going to work for you. It's absolutely not. But actually, they're working, for example, with the US market, and you really want to crack into that market. So actually, maybe I'll give you access to one of my rooms a night. And I'll do that on a 7-day release, so whereby if it's not sold, I get it back by then. And that's then, you know, beginning to build that relationship. You might then find, gosh, business through this route is fabulous, and then you want to add on to make it 2 rooms a night. So it's all about working with them and meeting in the middle, I suppose, is what we're trying to say. You know, is your business.
Yeah, and I think for me it was that we at National Trust for Scotland, we had so much product that it was all about the narrative, and the team were just reeling into their spiel about what we've got to see. But it was really key to actually ask the trade operator, the tour operator, You know, how do you contract? Do you contract direct, or i.e. directly with us at NTS, or are you contracting through a third party? In which case, what they're looking for from me is more generic destination information, and what they want from the DMC is the prices. So you have to, you know, sort of tailor your chat to whoever you're dealing with. And I suppose that gets more into the sales side of things, but also you can find out how close are they to making plans for Scotland tour by knowing what is their knowledge of Scotland, and do they already operate Scottish tours? You know, how close are they to actually delivering a tour that might bring business to your establishment? And then again, what interest or themes? So you can home in on the particular product that's relevant for them, which I guess is part of any sales environment, but those are the key things in the trade environment, I would say. So I think we just move on now. Oh yeah.
Yeah, I'm just quite conscious of time because we're you know on or about where we should be finishing now. So we have a wee jargon busting sort of thing, but so maybe what we'll do with this is just skim over this now, but we can send you out the definitions of that afterwards. So if we just maybe sort of swiftly move on to our top tips, if you like, as is our kind of ending slide. So yeah, if you've got any questions after this, we'll maybe open the floor, see if anyone's got any questions at this point. So Liz, I think this is over to you.
Right. Yes. So I mean, as we referred to, knowing who you're dealing with and how they buy and sell is really important for what you present to them, and building relationships, you know, and trust. And we've said that, you know, I think that's also a reason why during COVID people want to have good relationships and trust. Have a rate strategy, absolutely essential. And it's not just the rates, it's the product. So it's the description of that tour that also needs to go with the rates. Terms and conditions, obviously very important. And you've done your work in advance about where you want the business to be, what time of day, what revenue stream, what period of the year, all those kind of things come into your consideration. What is the resource for actually handling those inquiries? Because it needs to be quick turnaround, as we've discussed already. The area that we're moving on to in the next phase is what is having your sales resource good to go, in good shape, you know, copy, images in a fact sheet, and we'll be tailoring that with Visit Moray Speyside. Be open to have the contractor visit and experience your product firsthand. We haven't talked so much about familiarization trips, and obviously it's been off limits during the pandemic, but very, very good way of selling your product through is the fam trip. And collaboration with local businesses. It's really exciting, just our session at the beginning, where everyone's coming from, and people who maybe live next door but haven't worked together. There's great opportunities there. And just in that whole thing of localization, you know, if people want to discover a region, then the collaboration becomes even more important. And yeah, as we've said, that post next year, 2022-23, as the international visitor picks up and the domestic draws down, we need to look at international business. Our next steps, really. Did you want to say something, Karen?
Sorry, I just was just going to say quickly, just to reiterate again, keeping your net wide, I think, at the moment, as we're moving towards the end of this period of uncertainty, because who knows, you know, what country is going to go back into a lockdown? Who knows when, you know, God forbid Biden shuts his doors again to us coming to the States, you know, so it's very important that we keep that net wide just now and work with a variety of different markets. And also, just to recap again, I suppose the importance of that resource bank, which is what the team, you know, at Visit Moray Speyside need, is that little bit of copy, a couple of images, and a sort of one-page fact sheet that they can have your business knowledge, so that when they're attending, because I've seen in the chat that we just reiterated the variety of different trade shows that will be attended the first part next year. They don't have the information about your business, they're not going to be able to sell you effectively. So we'll talk about more when we come to your one-to-ones, which Liz is going to talk about in a minute. But yes, really start thinking about these elements. Sorry, Liz, I'll be quiet now.
No, that's fine. We're really coming up to the end of our presentation, you know, and we'd really like to have be more interactive with everybody, but that is part of the next phase. So we've got another workshop in February where we're going to look more at product and working with the travel trade, and that you're ready to work with the travel trade. Between now and then, we are going to work on individual sessions on developing your customer propositions, creating bookable products from your assets, and pricing consideration, and all the elements that you maybe have some specific questions on, so that we can have that trade ready product for Visit Moray Speyside. There's a lot there already, I know, but it's development of that, and so there's opportunities to announce what's new and bring more product to the fore.